Bruins Beat is brought to you by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
And we're here with Fabian Lysell. Welcome into the Bruins Beat, Fabian. What is up?
Not much. I just got back from practice and, taking it easy. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And so you've been in Sweden all summer. Obviously you grew up there. Give, a lot of our American listeners sort of what's summer like in Sweden? What do you like to do? Aside from just working out, like what are some of the things in Sweden to do during the summer?
There's a lot of things to do. We play a lot of golf and paddle tennis. So paddle tennis is kind of like pickleball, but not really. It's kind of like in a cage. A lot of friends play that, so that's usually the two hobbies we kind of like to do in the summer. And then, except from that, it's usually just like spend time with, family and friends as much as possible, because you don't really get to see them a lot during the year.
And then, so paddle tennis so I know you said it's like pickleball, but it isn't. So when you come back to the United States, do you guys get into a lot of pickleball here? Are there enough similarities? I don't think I'm super familiar with paddle tennis.
It's kind of similar. I actually played pickleball for the first time like a month ago, and I think it's awesome. I honestly expected it to be pretty boring, but I think it's great. So I'm definitely gonna ask around and see if anybody wanna, play a match when I get back there.
Well, one of the big things, I don't know if you've seen this, but back here, they've a lot of pickleball courts, like putting them in shopping malls and things like that. Because obviously it's gotten so big here. I'll be honest, I've gotten into tennis recently, like actual tennis. And so whenever I go to a tennis court and there are people playing pickleball on the court, I'm like, come on, like, we need the court for actual tennis, but now I'm afraid now if I get into pickleball, I'm going to mess with my tennis game. But so you're over in Sweden. How much of your day is dedicated to either skating or working out?
Well, I think like in terms of actual practice time, it depends a little bit on the day, but usually, or this summer, I've had like 2 workouts probably and like 1 skate a day. So what's that, 3.5 hours, somewhere around there. But then obviously, like, especially when you live on your own, like you gotta take care of like the food and everything. So it takes up more time in between practices and all that. So even though it's summer, it's still like you still gotta stay pretty, disciplined and all that, even though you're not playing any games, so you have more free time, like in the afternoon and all that to do kind of stuff that you want. And that's always nice to get that kind of break from the games and being able to do other stuff as well.
The food element, it's funny. I cover a lot of hockey in the high school level, and a lot of prospects as they sort of go to Division I or aim for Division I college hockey. And one of the things I hear from coaches a lot is the nutrition element of the game. And even at a young age, you don't have to be on the paleo diet at 15 years old, but you have to be a little bit mindful. When did you start kind of implementing the nutrition element? Eating a certain diet, things like that. When did that kind of come into play for you in your development?
I think honestly, probably last summer was like around there was probably the first time I really like started like thinking about it. Like I would say I've always been like a healthy person.
Mm-hmm.
I've not really been like big into like sweets and fast food in that sense, but definitely last summer I get into it a little bit. But I think you can't be like too like you can't be like a maniac to like just like I gotta have this all the time, because then it's just gonna be too stressful. So I think you gotta find like a good balance, and then as time goes, I think you learn more of like what your body responds well with, and then you can kind of stick with that too, and it makes it easier because then you know like how to make it, and it goes faster and all that. So but probably around last summer I got like I had a diet, and like I was trying to stick with that every day.
Have you gotten better, or are you really good at cooking? Like, has that become a thing too, or how's that?
I'm not a good cook, no. I
It's
I
okay.
have
It's
health.
okay.
Yeah, I have healthy stuff that I use, but it definitely doesn't taste good all the time, for sure.
That's okay. That's okay. It's I'm not the best cook either, so I can't get on that. A lot of YouTube videos, a lot of how do I do this or how do I do that. So I know the feeling on that.
Yeah.
You mentioned training during the summer. How much how important is it to continue skating during the summer? Do you view it like I think you mentioned you do it every day. Um, as you were coming up and developing, even prior to being drafted, when you were playing for Frölunda, and then coming up to the youth ranks, did you skate a lot during the summer, or did you do other things?
Uh, when I was younger, I did other sports. So there were probably like a 2, maybe even 3 month break where I didn't skate at all. Now, when I like focused on only playing hockey, I guess it's been depending on the summer, but I think this summer has probably been the summer I've skated the least. So earlier when I said I was skating every day, that's like from August and moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I probably took like a month and a half off this summer, and I've not done that before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of coaches will say taking time off during the summer, skating wise, is good. Just in terms of, you skate all year, you need a break, you need to do other things. Is that sort of the kind of mentality on that where it's like, I need to get off the ice for a bit?
Yeah, for sure. As you get older and you played for a couple of years, you definitely want that time off for your body to kind of recover. And also, like, in terms of, building yourself up with muscles and all that, I think it's good to take that time off to, focus on only the workout stuff and get better in the gym. And then I think that translates when you go back. When you go back skating, you definitely feel different.
PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select players' stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Personally, I'm always taking Jarren Duran more hits, and I'm taking Rafael Devers more runs. As the playoff push gets underway, those two will be vital. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. You've always been known as a good skater. Was that as a youth player? Was that an emphasis for you? Did you do power skating clinics? Did you work with skating coaches, or was it just kind of natural?
Uh, I don't know. I think I've always been like fast when I've done different stuff. If it was like running or skating, and I played bandy, so it's a different sport, but you're still skating. I think that's a lot of my skating comes from playing that sport.
What is bandy?
So it's basically hockey, but on a bigger surface, and it's 11 against 11.
And I sound is that specific to Europe and to Sweden? Like, I don't think that's big over here. Is it on ice? Is it on like a hard surface? Like, what? I'm curious what that is.
Yeah, it's on ice. It's big in Sweden. I think Russia is big in it too. Some European countries, but no, I don't even think it's a thing in the US.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but that's interesting. And so, what do you think in bandy made you a good skater? Was it just because the surface was bigger? Was it because there were more people? Like, if you had to think about, like, what do you think kind of impacted your skating for hockey and from bandy?
I think a lot of the guys that play bandy have like a low posture when they skate. So, me seeing that whenever I did that, I kind of saw like how everybody else was skating. So I was kind of like trying to implement that. And then when I get back at hockey, like I still had a little bit of that posture still. So that made my skating maybe a little bit different from before I started playing bandy. But I started playing at a young age, almost at the same time when I started hockey. So I kind of did those two things like back and forth from each other.
Were those the same seasons? Like, would you alternate? Like, was bandy during the winter months, or was that more like a summer thing?
No, definitely in the winter. So it was the same season. Bandy season was a little bit shorter overall, but both were winter sports.
And then what other sports did you play growing up aside from bandy and hockey? I know you mentioned you did some other sports too.
Uh, I tried a lot of sports. I played a lot of soccer, played some tennis, played a lot of golf, especially when I
Still
was
playing a lot of
younger.
golf. Still playing a lot of golf, I would assume.
Yeah, still playing a lot of golf. But so probably those ones. But then I tried a lot of different sports, but those were definitely the ones that I got stuck with.
Because and one other thing, I'll hear a lot of coaches say is kind of the cross training elements. That playing soccer, playing a sport like bandy, and we talked about this with bandy, helps you with hockey a lot. Do you think playing other sports made you a better hockey player, and vice versa? Playing more hockey helped you become a better soccer player. Do you think that was sort of in the cards for you?
Yeah, I think for sure you get to work with your body in a different way that's definitely going to help, in the long run, and you know for uh, what do you call that, like IQ
Yes.
on the ice. Definitely playing other sports helps.
Did did a lot of other kids you grew up with, a lot of your friends, did they also play multi sports too? Was that a big thing?
Um, yeah, I had like a couple of friends that we usually did, like we were trying different sports together. I remember some of us went from like hockey practice and then we went to bandy or soccer and the other way around. So I have a few friends that's been around and doing kind of like trying the same things.
And when in your youth career, when did you realize hockey could be your thing? Hockey, you were going to be professional at hockey, or you were going to at least try to be a professional at hockey. When did that sort of set in with you?
Um, that's a good question. I think kind of like in the back of my mind, I think hockey was always like the first choice from a young age. And then when I got to 14, I kind of had to choose, and then the choice was pretty easy. I think it just came from, uh, there's just like that competitive spirit that I got from it. I didn't really get that intensity from any other sport, so that's why I liked it the most.
And did you ever consider the college hockey route at all, or no?
No.
Was never in the cards. That's interesting because you see more and more, players from over there sometimes choosing that. But obviously, things worked out for you, so it didn't really matter. So I'm curious, like for you, not just hockey influences, but influences on you as a person. Who were people in your life as a kid, as a teenager, who really influenced you into the person that you are today?
Uh, I think it's been, a good mix of different people, depending on, how old you are. When you're a kid, it's usually like your dad and your family and the people closest to you. And as you get older, like friends that you play with or coaches that you have, can have a big impact on kind of like the person you want to become. So it's been a good mix of different people depending on, my age and what the circumstances are at the time.
And were there any like I never asked you this the first time you and I did this because you're a recurring guest. You've been on this show before. You were on the show 2 years ago, and we were both a little bit younger, and we're still pretty young, so I think that's a good thing. When did you have any moments of sort of adversity in hockey growing up? Were there any times you didn't make a certain team that motivated you or anything like that, or were you always kind of one of those top players in your age group?
I remember when I think I was 10, and it was like a big tournament that the 10-year-olds from Sweden usually play. I remember not getting selected to that one time, and that definitely made me like I found a little bit of that like motivation factor that I've carried on since then. That there was something there that definitely started building up around that time. So for sure, around 10, that was probably the first time I got cut, and I felt the need to wanting to prove myself, I guess.
And it's funny because 10 is such an interesting age because it's such a formative age where things happen at that age that, you still carry with you. But then, with hockey, so much can change between 10 and 14. Did that for you where after that time when you got cut after, at 10 years old, did a lot change for you? Like in terms of hockey, like did you start to kind of pass those kids who made that team over you?
Uh, yeah, some of them.
You don't have to be humble. You don't have to be humble here, Fabian. You can tell the truth.
No, but I think some of those guys are, today really good hockey players. I mean, that was the best guys for 10-year-olds in Sweden. So a lot of those guys are, playing professional at a very good level. And I know a lot of them now like pretty well. And some of them are very good at that age, and then they kind of like maybe start relaxing because they think it's like they're already up there,
Yep.
from a young age. So it's like, I don't know, but I definitely passed some of them for sure.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting is like here in the United States we have the brick, and
Yeah.
and in Canada too, obviously. And a lot of the kids that were on different brick teams go on to still be really good later on down the line, whether it be at 14 years old, 16, 18. And some of those kids don't, do anything. And I think that's just sort of the way hockey works. It's the way development works. And I think, kids pass each other when they do. And I've always found that really interesting with like, who's the best kid at each age group. So does that that sticks with you though, right? Like that's something that getting cut there, do you still think about that? Is that still motivation for you?
Uh,
And it's okay to say it is. I think that's really cool.
I don't know if that like because it was like such a long time now, so I don't think I've thought about it for
No.
quite some time. But I think definitely some of that like motivation factor from that definitely I still carry that around for sure.
And so then you leave Sweden after playing over there. You come over here. You play the Vancouver Giants. What were the biggest differences you saw from not just on the ice, but even just lifestyle, or maybe there weren't a lot of differences from playing in Sweden to going and playing in Western Canada?
Um, a lot of change. The travels were crazy in the WHL. I remember the skates where we were skating for like 2 hours a day when we were practicing. I wasn't used to that. I was used to maybe do a workout for an hour and then maybe skate like 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we were definitely skating more, and then obviously more games. So the whole setup is definitely different. And then you move away and you get to live with the family in a different country. It's a lot of changes, but it's a good league, and I think a lot of kids, coming from that league, I can see why they're doing well professionally because I think it's quite similar to being a pro hockey player in some ways.
It's the summer, which means nothing beats a ball game. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the nice weather. It's both relaxing and exciting, the perfect combination. Life is good. Have those experiences with Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The Red Sox are actually good, which makes it even more fun to be at Fenway this summer, but maybe you're planning a trip around going to an opposing ballpark, which is actually one of my bucket list items, hitting every MLB ballpark in the country. Thankfully, I have Game Time to help that happen. Some of the things I love about Game Time are last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. There's flash deals, save even more, with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And I like the zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. What were the biggest adjustments on the ice you felt you had to make going from playing in Sweden to the juniors in Canada?
I think you got to learn to find the scoring opportunity a little bit faster. You don't really have that time, with the puck or around the boards where you can kind of wait and see if there's like an opportunity that's going to happen. You kind of have to take what you get what you get and make the most out of it. And like the shooting mentality, I don't think that's just like playing juniors. I think that's overall in North America. The shooting mentality and guys wanting to score is that much higher over there than in Europe, I think.
What do you mean by that? Like here, it's more shoot the puck when you have it, or are you saying it's the opposite, where guys are trying to get to high danger areas more?
Guys are trying to get to high danger areas more, like trying to take the puck to the net, or they're not really looking for like the nice pass always. They're trying to get the puck to the net and trying to make something happen in front of the net. Or in Europe, you're usually maybe a little bit more tilted towards passing and doing it the other way around. So the whole, I think, in terms of system wise, that mentality is different in North America.
Yeah, and it's got to be a heck of it. Like as you said, it's got to be an adjustment that you need to make, and obviously you have made it. Going from Vancouver to Providence, lifestyle-wise, sort of similar to the question I asked a couple minutes ago about going from Sweden to Canada. What were kind of the big lifestyle differences going from junior hockey to the pros to playing professionally? What were some of those differences?
Then you're on your own. No, but then you get to rent your first apartment. You gotta make sure your place is cleaned. You got food, because there's nothing that's gonna be given to you. You have all the responsibility in that way. And if it's a early practice or a long road trip, you gotta kind of have to prepare yourself for that. So that's definitely the biggest adjustment, coming from juniors where you still live with the family, and then you go to the pros and you're on your own. So that's the biggest adjustment.
When you're on the road and you're away from the rink, and you want to do something to do, what's your go-to thing? Do you try different restaurants? Do you hang in the hotel room and watch Netflix? Like, what's sort of your go-to thing when you're on the road?
On the road, I think on the road we usually go we're staying one night at one place, and then I don't remember us playing a lot of back-to-backs, but if we had time off, you go for dinner. That's pretty much it. Yeah, you don't really have the time to do a lot of other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you've been in Providence for 2 years now. Who've been the biggest influences on you, whether it be players, coaches, who've been guys that have, really made an impression on you in the last 2 years?
I think it's been a good mix of, the coaches down there have been um, very patient in terms of like, getting adjusted to the playing style and, how um, how you want to be as a player. Like throughout those 2 years now, and they've been really helpful with that and trying to like communicate every day. And it gets better for each day. It's not like something that's gonna go happen right away, and that's definitely something they've trying to tell me and trying to teach me that it's a process, and that's definitely something that I feel more like comfortable with than I did coming in. And then I think my first year, a lot of the older guys helped me a lot. I lived in an apartment building with I think 5 other guys, so all those guys around there, helped me with food, and like if there was anything like that I needed help with, they were great in that sense. So it's been a good mix of different people.
You mentioned that process, and I think it's an interesting thing of every prospect, every draft pick, every person who ends up in the NHL or the AHL, there's a process to get there. Can that process be frustrating sometimes? Like in your case, obviously, adjusting to a different play style, adjusting to a new continent. Can that be frustrating to you at times?
Yeah, I think it's not going to be like an easy road for anybody, but and you know everybody's ways is different. Uh, I think for me, um, like there's always been like different challenges every year since I came over. But from that you mature, and then you know that moving forward, and then it's easier. So it's definitely been challenges. I think then it would not be as fun if it was just like an easy way, just going right in or anything like that.
That's an interesting outlook because it wouldn't be. That's what makes life fun is you get to overcome challenges and you get to complete objectives and different things you want to do. One thing that's prevalent in all of hockey and I think all of sports is comparing yourselves to others, comparing yourself to others. And I think that's not just hockey related. That's every job. I think, you work as a plumber and you're comparing yourself to other plumbers and things like that. How do you not compare yourself to other guys? How do you kind of just focus on your own path and not, comparing yourselves to other guys who were picked in 2021 or other players who are similar to you in age? How do you not compare yourself to them and focus on yourself?
I think that's also one of those things that you got to learn, that we just talked about. That's also a process, I think, to learn to, focus on what you can control, rather than like looking outward or, and I remember I played with Jason Magna this year, and I talked to him a few times about that. Just like, the most important thing is that you focus on what you're able to control because nothing else really matters. So that's a process the same as anything else, or like how you should play and everything around the rink.
So you're coming into this season. You've done 2 years in Providence, 2 productive years. What's the goal this year? What are you looking to accomplish going into training camp and coming out of it?
Um, I I want to come into camp and feel that I've taken the steps that they've wanted me to have taken, in terms of like playing the right structure and having the right mindset. So I'm definitely looking forward to try to do that. And also, I want to enjoy it a little bit more. I think sometimes it's been a little bit too stressful. So now I think I want to come in and enjoy the games and the practices because it's definitely one of those things that you shouldn't take for granted. So just coming in and yeah, have a good experience.
I would
And
assume
then
you
we'll see
want,
what
obviously.
happens.
Yeah, I would assume obviously you want to make the team. And I don't think I'm jumping to any conclusions there. You like for better or worse, do you ever like catch yourself like looking at roster spots and saying, "Oh, I want that spot in the lineup" or things like that, or is it not? Is that not what you're thinking?
No, not really looking at spots and trying to like see if that I should be there or anything like that. It's more of like you want to build yourself so you feel ready when the opportunity presents itself. Like you feel that you can feel whatever they need in that role. So I think I don't really look at it in that sense that I want to take this specific spot.
I know you mentioned structure wise and kind of playing their style. Was there anything else that they wanted to see out of you, or see you do differently coming into this season?
No, I mean they've touched a lot on that. Just the structure wise, being a trustworthy player at both ends of the ice, and trying to learn as much as possible from the older players that's been through it and played for a lot of years, and that's definitely something I'm looking forward to do. Coming in this year.
Well, Fabian, it has been a pleasure, and you've sat in like every room in your house during this interview, or in your apartment. I think you've gone to every single spot. We've seen almost the whole apartment in Stockholm, which is awesome, by the way. An apartment in Stockholm sounds like a really fun way to spend the summer. It has been awesome. This has been a really fun conversation, and we'll have to have you back at some point, and we'll see you at training camp. And have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Well, that's been Fabian Lysell. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.